Hello and welcome back to part 4 of our Kodomo-Hi tutorial series in Nomad Sculpt. Today we're looking at this wonderful piece right here. We're looking into doing the structure of the actual shop itself. Now this is going to use some simple techniques to achieve this effect. All we're going to be working with is cubes for the most part, and we're going to use a couple tools. Throughout this tutorial, we're going to focus on using our split tool, our trim tool, and let's see here. There's another tool that we might use. Yes. We'll end up actually using our Boolean tool. And we'll be able to achieve all the effects that we want to achieve pretty quickly. Oh, and one last tool. We're going to be using this mirror tool as well to help speed some of this stuff up. All right, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and do what we usually do at the beginning of our project. Actually, it's kind of dark in the project. I'm going to add some light real quick, because I'd like to be able to see this a little bit better. And we'll kick up the intensity. I'm just going to keep this light in here. Maybe turn that down a little bit. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do today, what we'll do first is we're going to go in here and do what we always do. We're going to save all of our changes. We're going to come in to save as. I've got like every menu ever open right now. Hitting all the wrong buttons. So we're going to come in here. We're going to hit save. We'll do save as, and we're going to click on new. That way we don't destroy too much. Yeah, we at least have a point where we can go back if we made a mistake or made a significant error. We always got something that we can fall back on. All right, and all we're really going to be adding to this scene is these two pieces right here, but we do need to add, first, we're going to do a mirror to get our roof looking right. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to get rid of a lot of the stuff that I've added. So we'll get rid of those. And then we're going to come in and we've got a mirror right here. And actually, let me see if I can move these items out of the mirror for now. I'm sorry, that is not the correct mirror. We need to be not in the entry. The roof. So I had mirrored the roof, and I'll peel that out real quick so that I can take us back in time and we can see how that looks. All right, so when we start this series, if you're following along, you're going to have something that looks a lot like this, where you have most of the front of the shop done. Now, when I was practicing this, my first instinct was to go in and add the cube that was going to make up the shape of the shop. But actually, what I'd like to do first, having practiced this, is we will start with the mirror. So what we'll do is we'll select our mirror, our roof. We're going to click add, and then we're going to click mirror. And now getting the direction of the mirror is going to be important. I believe we're going to be using Z-axis. Yes, we'll use our Z-axis. And then these colors can kind of give you a hint on what axis you're working with, in which direction that you need to mirror things. We need to mirror from left to right. Our blue arrow is moving in that direction, so that tells us that we should be mirroring on the Z-axis. We'll come back into our items menu. We're going to make sure that we have that mirror selected, and then we're going to move that mirror to roughly where we think the center of the shop needs to be. And then we can select the roof itself and move that back the other way. And all we need to do is kind of line up where we think the wood is going to fall, but really what gives it away is at the top here. You basically want to set it up to where it mirrors, or it sets itself in the middle. And this is really going to define how large the shop is width-wise. So once we've got that done, we are good. We really shouldn't need to mess with the roof too much more. There are some tricks that we could do to make the roof look a little nicer, but for now, that'll be fine. Now we're gonna deselect everything you can tap any object 2 times to deselect everything. Then we're gonna click the Add button, and we're gonna add in our box that's gonna make up the body of our shop. We'll move this centered into position. We're going to switch from Gizmo to our editing tool. We'll go ahead and stretch this up to the top of the roof and then down to the floor. And we'll stretch this forward to meet the front of the shop. Now, I'm in the right view up here, and because of that, I've got a lot of grid snapping that's happening right now. I can turn the grid snapping off temporarily, and then that'll allow me to push the wall back. And I want to be about midway into the frame. Actually, based on our reference image, our frame is about the same distance there from the front. So they're almost the same axis or plane. All right, so we got that one. We'll switch to front view, and then we'll start stretching this out the other way. And we're going to come out. Again, we'll use our reference image to help us. We need to be about a frame's width beyond what we're doing. And actually, let's go here. So we're about a frame width from the roof edge of the house, or the shop, and then we're about a frame width from the awning or the shade, and that'll be fine for that. And we'll do the same or similar for the other side, about a frame width. And then the front of our shop is not dead center, and that's fine. It adds a little character to the shop. Actually, it's a little bit better if not everything is absolutely perfect, because we start losing character if every single thing looks like it was cut with a cookie cutter. Okay, so we'll come over here to the right. We'll go ahead and validate that shape. We don't need to do anything too special to it. And then we're going to go ahead and trim off some of this excess up here. So we're going to go down to our trim tool on the right here. We're going to be using a line tool. And then for those of you who are following along, your snap tool here would probably end up being set at 90 if it was at that before. You need to slide that down and get it down to about 5 degrees. We'll be fine. And make sure your auto validate is on. And what we want to do is we're going to be slicing the edge of our rectangle off, and we need to do that in line with the roof. And we need to do that with the upper roof line, not the lower roof line here, because if we do it to the lower roof line, I'll just show you what happens. You'll end up doing something like this, and then you have a big gap showing underneath the roof tile. And we just want to avoid that. So we're just kind of come in just like that. That might be too close to the edge. Need a little bit of a buffer. There we go. Then we can click our camera tool up here. Your first instinct, of course, when you're done slicing that or trimming that off, is you're just going to immediately try and grab the screen, and then you'll do a big slice. So always switch back to your camera when you want to come back and check to make sure everything went well. And I can say that that looks pretty accurate to what we're trying to do. Now, this part's not too tricky. We've made a lot of progress with not a lot of effort so far. this part, we're going to come in, we're going to use our Gizmo tool. Let's turn on X-ray. We're going to clone this, the shop's body, or the main walls of it. We're just going to clone this box. And then we're going to decrease the size of this box a bit so that we have about a frame width carved out. It's got to be a little bit over a frame width because we want to see our frame inside the shop as well, kind of poking out. That's pretty good. And then we're going to increase the height almost back to what it was. We're going to we need to leave some buffer at the top so we can actually move this down and then stretch it up again like that. And what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and hollow out the shop. So to do that, we're going to click on our eyeball icon here. We're going to check mark both box 4 and box 5. It happens to be named box 4 and box 5. It doesn't have to be that on your version. And then we're going to tap the Boolean version, the Boolean button, and then we're going to click Boolean again. And that should hollow out the shop and make it pretty nice. Okay, that's done. Now let's come to the front. We can turn off our X-ray. We're going to go into, actually, let's just stick to what we were doing. I had tried another method of using like a select mask tool to mask off where I wanted to carve out the entry area and the door, but actually we can just stick with the same trick. We're going to add a box. We'll move it out here. We'll size it so that it takes up the space of this entryway like this. Pull that up. I'll turn on X-ray so that we can see a little bit better. We'll match the top of this, the supports for the awning. And then we're just going to pull this down until it's just past the floor. Then we just need to make sure that it's wide enough to make it all the way into the hollow space of the shop, which that should be fine. And we'll turn our X-ray back off, make sure things are roughly centered. We can switch back to our Gizmo tool. I know this isn't going to be dead center. Something more like that is better. And same process, we're going to click on the eyeball icon, the checkbox of the box we just made in box 4, Boolean, and Boolean again. And now we have that entryway carved out. Let's switch to the right side. We're going to do the same process since that's working well for us. We're going to make a box. Let's slide it until it kind of sticks out of the wall a bit. We're going to turn on X-ray. Let's go ahead and set the height. So we want to make this about the same height as the previous box that we just did. So we'll just come down to where it lines up with the support for the awning. Then we'll make sure that it's wide enough to carve into the shop. Switch to our right view up here. Slide this out into the right. And we'll try and keep it centered on that center line. Switch to our Gizmo. Let's go to X-ray, turn off the X-ray so that we can see. Make sure that looks like it's going to carve out exactly the space that we want, and that looks really good. Let's go ahead and hit our eyeball. Check box both boxes, Boolean and Boolean. All right. right, now we got the entryway and the door already done, and that took us almost no time at all. All right, let's go ahead and now we'll add a small detail here. This the shop has this kind of double layer thing going on at the bottom here. There's a couple approaches, but I think we're going to go for a fast and simple approach. We're going to use this split tool. The split tool is a lot like the trim tool, but instead of deleting the other half, it's just going to separate one half from the other. So all we need to do, we're coming up about 1/3 the way up the entryway, maybe 1/4 of the way up the entryway. So we just kind of look, we'll just eyeball it. It's about maybe this far up. And we just draw across. Of course, we're using our line function, auto validate with snap. And just like that, we've split these two. Switch to your camera view so that you don't accidentally split things again. And we're going to have a look. Now it looks a little bit weird just because the shadows are a little weird right now, but we can fix that real quick. You know what? Let's fix that real quick. So let's hit our Gizmo tool. Let's tap that lower half that we just made. Let's do our eyedropper and grab that texture or that color. Let's paint it. Let's do the upper portion. Same thing, eyedropper on a lighter portion of the shop. Hit paint. And last but not least, yeah, that looks fine. Let's go ahead and add one last box for the floor area. Let's use our tools, line this up with the bottom of the floor. It's just going to be just like that. We'll switch to our editing tool. We'll slide this out to where it's a bit past the edge of the shop. And then we'll switch to our right view up here. Grab these purple icons, pull this out to where it's a bit in front and behind the shop. And then we're going to use our tricks that we've used before. We're going to turn our post subdivision way down. It's going to round out the edges a lot. And then we're going to turn post subdivision up. Let's turn that up to, it looks like it's only going to let us go so far. Linear subdivision, we can actually turn that down to 1. And then let's hit validate. Okay, we've got quite a bit of rounded edge on this. And one way we can replicate that, and it's a way that I tried. You're welcome to try your own techniques for this because it's kind of a subjective opinion on what looks nice. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my smoothing tool. I'm going to turn on symmetry, make sure it's enabled. Planes are going to be X and Z. I'm going to click local for the method. That way we're editing centered on this shape. And then I'm going to keep my lines turned on so that I can just see them and know that it's working and it's there. And then I'm going to turn the smoothing tool size down a bit. I want to be careful not to make it too large. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to round out these edges. And it can, like I said, you can end up making a mess with this. Oh wow, the resolution is really high on this. I'm going to kick this down to like 290. That can eat up a lot of megs or gigs if it's meshed too high. But yeah, the smoothing tool, the negative side of that, the downside of the smoothing tool is that, let's go ahead and turn on our y-axis as well. And let's smooth that on both edges. There we go. Yeah, the downside to it is that it can destroy your geometry a little too much. And then again, I'm not like crazy about using this tool for this particular job, but it did work when I tried it before, and it doesn't look too bad now. It does look acceptable, so we'll just go with it. Let's go ahead and hit our paint all, and now we've got the color done. We can actually grab the same texture that we're using on the fabric up here on the entryway. Let's go ahead and use that same texture and texture the walls and the floor with that. So we'll go into the entry. We're going to select this array box. I'm going to go into the materials. I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to go back down here into these boxes that we've just made. Select all of them just by dragging across the checkbox area. We're going to go back into material and we're going to hit paste. Now, I don't think you'll see it right away until you move the camera, and then you'll be able to see it pretty well. And we can see now that we've got the texture. Now, yeah, it's going to be almost impossible to see from your perspective, but because of the YouTube compression and the lower video quality that you'll get. But for those of you who aren't doing it, you'll just have to take my word for it. For those of you following along, you'll probably notice right away that you've got some texture detail in there now. If for some reason the texture detail looks a little bit off, you can come into your normal, tap on your normal, and you can scale up or down. If for some reason it's just looking too rough, you can either scale it down or scale it up to either increase or reduce the amount of roughness that you see. Okay. All right. So this one went really quick. I wanted to make a short video. I've had a tough work schedule this week, so I don't have too long that I'd like to spend on this one. I'd just like to get this part out there for you all if you're following along. That way you're not waiting 2 or 3 days for me to get some rest so I can actually make this. I think this is a good start. What we can do next week, or I'm sorry, next lesson, we'll come in, we'll add the door frame, the door, we'll go ahead and we'll add the back paneling in the shop. We'll add that in, get those details done, and if we have enough time, we'll do the table. We might do the table as a single lesson, but yeah, we'll keep it around that. But all right, well, hopefully you found this useful. I'll go ahead and turn on our turntable so that we can see the finished result. Let me turn off the reference image, and let's add a gradient background that doesn't look quite so boring. There we go. And then we can hit our turntable and we get a nice view of our little Japanese yaki-imo shop for our Kodomo-no-Hi part 4, all done. And if you liked the video, go ahead and hit like. If you have anything that I missed, or if you have any questions or any requests, go ahead and throw them in the comments, and please subscribe if you can, if you haven't already, so you can get updates when we add more to this and other tutorial series. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.